And so since I have to watch it, I figured there would be some people that want to watch it with me because mm, we're stronger together. We're strong. Hey, Bougie Barbie. Y'all say hey to Bougie Barbie. She's another one of my moderators. I figured we can have a good time watching this together. And the reason why I want to watch it, because I want to hear the nonsense, number one, from the horse's mouth. And number two, everybody is talking about. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? I'm just talking and I didn't even see if the audio was working. I hope the audio was working. Can y'all hear me? Okay. All right. Thank you. Everybody is talking about Elon Musk's son and how he cut a fool on Donald Trump. And I just want to see it for myself. I've seen clips where, people are saying what they think. Oh, I need to order one. What they think he's saying. And I wanna, yeah, let's watch it. Plus, I'm still trying to find my footing. I'm still trying to get back into the swing of things of reporting what is going on. I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time because it's like I've talked about all that is happening. I've already talked about it. Elon's little spawn. All right, let me hit play. It's enough of us in here. Let's hit play.
X, are you okay? This is X, and he's a great guy, high IQ. He's a high IQ individual.
And he's got this. Check out this cool chain he's got.
So thank you very much. We had a busy day today. The king just left.
He's
and
4.
We've had a great discussion, terrific discussion concerning Gaza and everything else. We had discussions also about Saturday at 12 o'clock. It's going to be a big moment. We'll see what happens. I don't expect much happening with these people, but we'll see what happens. And we're going to be signing a very important deal today. It's Doge, and I'm going to ask Elon to tell you a little bit about it and some of the things that we found, which are shocking. Billions and billions of dollars in waste, fraud,
Who's
and
this in here
abuse.
telling me to stop eating?
And
Goodbye.
I think it's very important. And that's one of the reasons I got elected.
Goodbye.
I said, we're going to do
Goodbye.
that.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Nobody had any idea it was that bad, that sick, and that corrupt. And it seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. And we want
Okay. Kathy, one of my members, is stating that RFK has been confirmed. Baby, they all gonna be confirmed. I've said this long ago. That's why I haven't been talking about those people. They are all going to be confirmed. It's not shocking to me. Let me go back to hit the play button. But thank you for the update.
to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges because that's a very serious. I think it's a very serious violation. I'll ask Elon Musk to say a few words and we'll take some questions. Elon, go ahead.
Sure. So at a high level, you say, what is the goal of Doge and I think a significant part of.
Let me just say this. Who else was taken aback by the fact that this man stutters horribly? who else was taken aback? I haven't really heard this man speak in length. So when I started seeing the clips of this man speaking, I was like, is everybody else hearing what I'm hearing? This man can speak the way that he speaks, but they talked shit about Joe Biden. This man, his speech impediment is worse than Joe Biden, but they had a lot to say about Joe Biden, and yet they're silent on this mofo right here. Somebody says it's the ketamine. Let me hear play.
The presidency is to restore democracy. This may seem like, well, are we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, okay, we'd have to, if you sorry. So tell you, gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy. We live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives.
Wait a minute. This man is talking about democracy, and he's threatening any Republican congressman that if they don't go along with the program, he will pay to have them primaried. And yet this man is using this time to talk about democracy. Oh, Lord.
The president, the House, and the Senate decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there aren't some good, there are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that's responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And if you looked at this, if you looked at the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want. And it's not, it does not match the will of people. So it's just something we've got to.
Y'all didn't tell me that this man has the unmitigated fucking gall to be standing in the Oval Office lecturing Americans on democracy and unelected people and bureaucrats when he is an unelected individual who has taken over the government and is a bureaucrat, a robber baron, a corrupt thief, a welfare recipient, a welfare queen. All of his money comes from our government. Y'all didn't tell me he was this. What? Why did you? Wait. Okay. And this little kid is getting on my nerves.
We've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit.
Hey,
and
Ken.
if we don't do something about this deficit,
the
country's going bankrupt.
Moderators.
I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking because we spend a lot of money on defense. But if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country.
What I
really want to say is like,
This man is talking about the defense budget, and it's being reported. Did y'all see the video I did today? It's being reported that this mofo is coming up upon a $400 million contract to provide armored cyber trucks to the United States. And he wants to talk about our fucking budget? Everybody is talking about this kid. And I had a lot to say, and we ain't even got to what the kid did. What? Oh, Lord.
Like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal
You get
expenses.
rid of
It's
Elon
essential.
Musk.
It's essential for
You
America
get rid
to
of
remain
a lot of
solvent
the
as a
debt.
country. And it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
And also, could you mention some of the things that your team has found, some of the crazy numbers, including the woman that walked away with about
Thank you
30
for the
million,
super chat.
Right.
etc.?
Well, we do find it sort of rather odd that there are quite a few people in the bureaucracy who have ostensibly a salary of a few $100,000, but somehow manage to accrue tens of millions of dollars in net worth while they are in that position, which is, what happened at USAID. We're just curious as to where it came from. Maybe they're very good at investing, in which case we should take their investment advice, perhaps. But just they seem to be mysteriously, they get wealthy. We don't know why. Where does it come from?
You got wealthy
And
from
I think the reality is that they're getting wealthy at the taxpayer expense. That's the honest truth of it. So, we're looking at, say, well, we just, if you look at, say Treasury, for example, basic controls that should be in place, that are in place in any company, such as making sure that any given payment has a payment categorization code, that there is a comment field that describes the payment, and that if a payment is on the do not pay list, that you don't actually pay it. None of those things are true currently. So the reason that departments can't pass audits is because the payments don't have a categorization code. It's like just a massive number of blank checks just flying out the building. So you can't reconcile blank checks. You've got comment fields that are also blank, so you don't know why the payment was made. And then we've got this truly absurd, a do not pay list, which can take up to a year for an organization to get on a do not pay list. And this, we're talking about terrorist organizations, we're talking about known fraudsters.
Some of y'all are saying that Elon is using that baby as a human shield. Hey, tribal woman. Hey, Katrina. As a human shield. He's using his son as a human shield. To all of you that are saying that down in the comment section, I 100% agree. That's why the baby is up on his shoulders. I 100% agree with you. And I want y'all to remember all of this that he is saying that he's found, he has offered no proof. Hey, Mrs. Kiki. Y'all say hey to Mrs. Kiki. She's another one of my moderators. He's offered no proof. If you were going to come into this press conference, that desk, Donald Trump's desk, is clean. Where's your proof? Did you hand out stuff to the reporters to give them the proof to back up what it is that you're saying? Okay.
Known aspects of waste, known things that do not match any congressional appropriation can take up to a year to get on the list. And even once on the list is not used. It's mind-blowing. So what we're talking about here, we're really just talking about adding common sense controls that should be present, that haven't been present. So you say, like, well, how could such a thing arise? That seems crazy. when you understand that really everything is geared towards complaint minimization, so then you understand the motivations. So if people receive money, they don't complain, obviously. But if people don't receive money, they do complain. And the fraudsters complain the loudest and the fastest. So then when you understand that, then it makes sense. Oh, that's why everything they approve all the payments at Treasury. Because if you approve all the payments, you don't get complaints. But now we're saying that, no, actually, we are going to complain. If money is spent badly, if your taxpayer dollars are not spent in a sensible and frugal manner, then that's not okay. Your tax dollars need to be spent wisely on things that matter to the people. I mean, these things, like, it's just common sense. It's not draconian or radical. I think it's really just saying, let's look at each of these expenditures and say, is this actually in the best interest of the people? And if it is, it's approved. If it's not, we should think about it. So, there's crazy things like just cursory examination of Social Security, and we've got people in there that are 150 years old. Now, do you know anyone who's 150? I don't. Okay. They should be on the Guinness Book of World Records. They're missing out. So, that's the case where, like, I think they're probably dead. It's my guess. Or they should be very famous, one of the two. And then there's a whole bunch of Social Security payments where there's no identifying information. Well, like, why is there no identifying information? Obviously, we want to make sure that people who deserve to receive Social Security do receive it, and that they receive it quickly and accurately. I'll tell you another crazy thing. So, one of the things is, like, we are trying to sort of right-size the federal bureaucracy, just make sure that this. Obviously, there needs to be a lot of people working for the federal government, but not as many as currently. So we're saying, well, okay, let's, if people can retire, with full benefits and everything, that would be good. They can retire, get their retirement payments, everything. And then we were told, this is actually, I think, a great anecdote, because we were told that the most number of people that could retire possibly in a month is 10,000. We're like, well, why is that? Well, because all the retirement paperwork is manual on paper. It's manually calculated, then written down on a piece of paper. Then it goes down a mine. And like, what do you mean a mine? Like, yeah, there's a limestone mine where we store all the retirement paperwork. And you look at a picture of this mine. We'll post some pictures afterwards. And this mine looks like something out of the 50s because it was started in 1955. So it looks like it's like a time warp. And then the speed, the limiting factor is the speed at which the mine shaft elevator can move determines how many people can retire from the federal,
baby, let Luigi out so he can take care of some other.
And the elevator breaks down sometimes, and then nobody can retire. Doesn't that sound crazy? There's like 1,000 people that work on this. So I think if we can take those people and say, like, you know what, instead of working in a mine shaft and carrying manila envelopes to boxes in a mine shaft, you could do practically anything else, and you would add to the goods and services of the United States in a more useful way. So anyway, so I think that's an example. Like at a high level, if you say, like, how do we increase prosperity? Is we get people to shift from roles that are low to negative productivity to high productivity roles. And so you increase the total output of goods and services, which means that there's a higher standard of living available for everyone. That's the actual goal. Everyone's very quiet.
Everyone means millionaires and billionaires.
Your detractors, Mr. Musk.
What?
Including a lot of Democrats.
I have detractors?
You do, sir.
I don't believe it.
Say that you're orchestrating a hostile takeover of government and doing it in a non-transparent way. What's your response to that criticism?
Well, first of all, you couldn't ask for a stronger mandate from the public. The public voted, we have a majority of the public voting for President Trump. We won the House, we won the Senate. The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, people that don't get what they voted for, But in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for. And that's what democracy is all about.
Mr. Musk, the White House says that you will identify and excuse yourself from any conflicts of interest that you may have. Does that mean that you are in effect policing yourself? What are the checks and balances that are in place to ensure that there is accountability and transparency?
Well, we actually are trying to be as transparent as possible. In fact, our actions, we post our actions to the Doge handle on X.
He's being as transparent as possible, but he's given this press conference saying that he's found this, he's found that, and da-da, but he's not showing proof of what he's found. But yeah, he's being transparent as possible. So his word is what what?
And to the Doge website. So all of our actions are maximally transparent. In fact, I don't think there's been, I don't know of a case where an organization has been more transparent than the Doge organization. So, you know, and the kind of things we're doing are, I think, very, very simple and basic. They're not, you know, what I mentioned, for example, about Treasury, just making sure that payments that go out, taxpayer money that goes out, is categorized correctly, that the payment is explained, that organizations on the do not pay list, which takes a lot to get there, that actually are not paid, which currently they are paid. These are not individual judgment decisions. These are about simply having sensible checks and balances in the system itself to ensure that taxpayer money is spent well. So it's got nothing to do with, like, say, a contract with some company of mine at all.
But if there is a conflict of interest when it comes to you yourself, for instance, you've received billions of dollars in federal contracts when it comes to the Pentagon, for instance, which the president, I know, has directed you to look into.
Yeah.
Are you policing yourself in that? Is there any sort of accountability check and balance in place that would provide any transparency for the American people?
Well, all of our actions are fully public. So if you see anything, you say, like, wait a second, hey, that seems like maybe that's, you know.
If all of his actions were public, you remember when they started locking down all of these buildings, and all of the congressmen went to the U.S. aid office and they refused to let them in? How is that public? How is that, if what you're doing behind closed doors is available for everyone to see, then why didn't you let those congressmen and women into that building, Elon Musk? Now we know, hey, Aisha, now we know there is not going to be a follow-up question asking that. That should have been the follow-up question. If everything you do is open for the public to see, then why didn't you allow the congressmen and women who galvanized outside of the USA building into the building? Why didn't you allow them to do that?
There's a conflict there. It's not like people are going to be shy about saying that. They'll say it immediately.
Including you yourself.
Yes, but transparency is what builds trust, not simply somebody asserting trust. So not somebody saying they're trustworthy, but transparency, so you can see everything that's going on. And then you can see, am I doing something that benefits one of my companies or not? It's totally obvious.
And if we thought that, we would not let him do that segment or look in that area. If we thought there was a lack of transparency or a conflict of interest. And we watch that also. He's a big businessman. He's a successful guy. That's why we want him doing this. We don't want an unsuccessful guy doing this. Now, one thing also that Elon hasn't really mentioned are the groups of people that are getting some of these payments. They're ridiculous. And we're talking about billions of dollars that we've already found. We found fraud and abuse. I would say those two words as opposed to the third word that I usually use, but in this case, fraud.
There's a new member alert. Welcome.
It's abusive because most of these things are virtually made up,
Breaking
or
news.
certainly money shouldn't be sent to them. And you know what I'm talking about.
Another
It's
lawsuit.
crazy. So, but we're talking about
Look at Donald Trump paying
tens of
and look
billions
at
of
Donald
dollars
Trump's
that
face.
we've already found. And now a judge who's an activist judge wants to try and stop us from doing this. Why? Why would they want to do that? I campaigned on this. I campaigned on the fact that I said government is corrupt.
Araceli
And
says
it
show
is very
proof.
corrupt. It's very, very, it's also foolish. As an example, a man has a contract for 3 months and the contract ends, but they keep paying him for the next 20 years, you know,
Yeah.
because nobody ends a contract. You get a lot of that. You have a contract that's a 3-month contract. Now, normally, if you're in a small, in all fairness, it's the size of this thing is so big.
Yeah.
But if you have a contract and you're in a regular business, you end the contract in 3 months. You know, it's a consultant. Here's a contract for 3 months, but it goes on for 20 years. And the guy doesn't say that he got money for 20 years. You know, they don't say it. They just keep getting checks month after month. And you have various things like that, and even much worse than that, actually, much worse. And I guess you call that incompetence, maybe.
Yeah.
It could be corruption. It could be a deal's made on both sides, you know, where the guy gets the money, he kicks. I think there's a lot of kickback here. I see a lot of kickback here,
There's a lot of kickbacks.
a tremendous kickback, because nobody could be so stupid to give out some of these contracts.
Yes.
So he has to get a kickback. So
The same
that's what I
kickback
got
Elon is getting.
elected for, that and borders and military and a lot of things, but this is a big part of it. And I hope that the court system is going to allow us to do what we have to do. We got elected to among other things, find all of this fraud, abuse, all of this horrible stuff going on. And we've already found billions of dollars, not like a little bit, billions, many billions of dollars.
Lies.
And when you
Where's
get
the
down to
proof?
it, it's going to be probably close to $1 trillion. It could be
Oh,
close to $1
lies.
trillion that we're going to find. That will have quite an impact on the budget. And you'll go to a judge where they handpick a judge, and he has certain leanings. I'm not knocking anybody for that, but he has certain leanings, and he wants us to stop looking. How do you stop looking? I mean, we've already found it. We have a case in New York where a hotel has paid $59 million, $59 million because it's housing migrants, illegal migrants, all illegal, I believe.
And they were being paid twice the normal room rate at 100% occupancy.
Unbelievable.
So it's a wrap.
Yeah.
Mr. Musk, I have asked a question.
Well, if I may,
These reporters that are a part of this, they are failing the American people. You got these two crooks lecturing about the federal government contracting with a hotel, and that hotel is charging double and triple the price, right? That's what they just said, right? Meanwhile, Donald Trump does the same exact thing. The same exact thing. Every time he goes dancing down to Mar-a-Lago with his Secret Service in tow, and that's a huge detail, with the Secret Service in tow, he doesn't provide rooms for them for free of charge because he's the president of the United States. Hell no. He bills the government for all of the rooms that they have to stay in, and he charges quadruple the price. Did you hear what I said? Donald Trump does the same exact thing. Whether he's at Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster, when every time he goes down to those areas and he stays for a length of time, he charges the federal government quadruple the price for his Secret Service to stay there. When he goes golfing and they need one of them little golf carts, he charges the federal government for the use of those golf carts. And this mofo has got the nerve to try to call somebody else out.
Hey, sort of just going for the president's comments. At a high level, you say, well, what? How exactly? How do you?
This stuttering fool here.
What are the two ingredients that are really necessary in order to cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1 trillion? And it's really two things: competence and caring.
What?
And if you add competence and caring, you'll cut the budget deficit
They
in half.
playing in our face.
And
They are
I fully expect to be scrutinized
our face.
and get a daily proctology exam, basically. Might as well just camp out there.
Competence and
So
care.
it's not like I think I can get away with something.
Competence and care. Meanwhile, when he cut the USAID funding without a care to the services that USAID was providing to millions of people across the globe. Not one thought, not one care. As a result, that poor little 70-year-old woman died because she could not get her oxygen that was provided to her through USAID. And this mofo is standing in the Oval Office talking about competence and care.
I'll be scrutinized nonstop. But with support of the president, we can cut the budget deficit in half from 2 trillion to 1, and then with deregulation, because there's a lot of sort of regulations that don't ultimately serve the public good. We need to free the builders of America to build, and if we do that, that means I think we can get the economic growth to be maybe 3-4%, maybe 5%. And that means if you can get $1 trillion of economic growth, you cut the budget deficit by $1 trillion.
We didn't vote for this
Between
man.
now and next year, there is no
35
inflation. There's no inflation in 26. And if the government is not borrowing as much, it means that interest costs decline. So everyone's, the mortgage, their car payment, their credit card bills, anything, their student debt, the monthly payments drop.
Oh, there
That's
go
a
the baby
fantastic
digging in his
scenario.
nose.
For the average American. I mean, imagine they're going down the grocery aisle and the prices from one year to the next are the same, and their mortgage, all their debt payments
Oh, is
drop.
that what? That's the moment right there.
How great is that for the average American?
There you go, digging in his nose.
We had
That's
no
what we're
idea. We had no idea we were going to find this much, and it's open. It's not like complicated.
It's not that
simple stuff.
complicated.
It's
It's
like
a lot of work.
you
Yeah.
can't believe it. A lot of work. A lot of
Where's
smart
the
people
proof?
involved. Very, very smart people. But you're talking about anywhere maybe $500 billion. It's crazy the kind of numbers
It
you're
is really
talking
crazy.
about. You know, normally when you're looking at something, you'll find you're looking for 1 out of 100. Here, you're almost reversing it. You look for one that's good,
Yeah.
and you can look at the title and you say, why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And the public gets it. You know, the public gets it. You've seen the polls.
I'm
The
the
public
public.
is
I
saying,
don't
why
get
are we
it.
paying all this money? This for years, this has gone on.
I don't get it.
Yeah, go ahead. Wait, go ahead.
Senator Rand Paul today said the DOJ cuts will ultimately need a vote in Congress. Do you agree with that? Is that the
I
plan?
really don't know. I know this. We're finding tremendous fraud and tremendous abuse. If I need a vote of Congress to find fraud and abuse, it's fine with me. I think we'll get the vote, although there'll be some people that wouldn't vote. And how could a judge want to hold us back from finding all of this fraud and finding all of this incompetence? Why would that happen? Why would even Congress want to do that? Now, Congress, if we do need a vote, I think we'd get a very easy vote because we have a track record now. We've already found billions of dollars of abuse, incompetence, and corruption.
Lies.
A lot of corruption.
If a judge does block one of your policies, part of your agenda. Will you abide by that ruling? Will you
Well,
comply
I
with that
always
order?
abide by the courts, and then I'll have to appeal it. But then what he's done is he slowed down the momentum. And it gives crooked people more time to cover up the books. You know, if a person's crooked and they get caught, other people see that, and all of a sudden it becomes harder later on. So, yeah, the answer is I always abide by the courts, always abide by them, and will appeal. But appeals take a long time, and I would hope that a judge, if you go into a judge and you show him, here's a corrupt situation, we have a check to be sent, but we found it to be corrupt. Do you want us to send this corrupt check to a person, or do you want us not to give it and give it back to the taxpayer? I would hope a judge would say, don't send it, give it back to the taxpayer.
Yeah, if I can add to that.
Listen. I feel like I need to make this distinction. If Elon Musk is finding fraud, then so be it. If he's finding fraud and he can prove that he is finding fraud, then that needs to be corrected, and it needs to be corrected immediately. As taxpayers, we can all agree with that. But that's not just what Elon Musk is doing. Elon Musk, let's not forget what he has done. It's not like he went into USAID, met with the leaders of USAID and said, I'm here to do an audit of the books, and can you give me a conference room, set me up with a computer, hook me up with somebody who can help me navigate the system, and just let me do my thing. Hey, Zelene. That's not how he did this. He went into these agencies and these departments and he fired people. He fired people at a mass rate, fired these people to weaken these agencies so that these agencies will shut down. That's what Elon Musk did. Listen, where I work, we get audited every year. They come in, they audit our books every year. They don't come in firing people because they need to get into the system and audit the books. What are you talking about, sir? Now, see, this may work. This may work with the MAGA nuts because they don't know no better. They are uneducated individuals. So when they listen to this nonsense, they have not one ability to critically think. But for the rest of us who are educated, who are professionals, who have worked in the business environment, we know how audits work. You don't have to fire hundreds of people to go into these different buildings and agencies to audit the books. That's how you do it when you're trying to do something wrong. Elon Musk going into these different agencies, the Department of Education, USAID, what was the other one? The Treasury, all of these other divisions, FBI, all of this stuff, and firing all of these people. It's to benefit Elon Musk and to protect Elon Musk. It has absolutely nothing with trying to save the American people from fraud. Nothing to do with it. If you are going into that agency to audit it, you go in, you work with the people, you audit the books. It does not require. Why did you feel the need to fire all of these people? Y'all know I'm going to tell you why. Because the firing of all of these people, all these layoffs, trying to force all of these, they tried to force all of these people back into the office. right? And what ended up happening, all of these people started going back into the office. They were hoping that by forcing these people back into the office, those people will quit. They did not quit. And so then they started forcing layoffs, telling people don't show up and firing people and all of that stuff. All of that is tied to Project 2025. Remember, Project 2025 said that they would be laying off or firing thousands of federal employees. And then the plan was to bring in loyalists to Donald Trump to on like a skeleton crew basis to run the US government. So the firing of the people is tied to the Heritage Foundation and Project 2025. Remember, he put that man in charge of OMB, of the budget office, who is tied to the Heritage Foundation, who is an author of Project 2025. So the firing of the people is tied to Project 2025. And now they're using the going over the books, looking for fraud, looking for corruption, looking for funding or waste funding and whatever term they want to use. Playing somebody, they playing in our face. Let me hit play. I want to.
What we're finding is actually a bunch of the fraud is not even going to Americans.
Look at this shit.
So I think we can all agree that if there's going to be fraud, it should at least go to Americans. But a bunch of the fraud rings that are operating in the United States and taking advantage of the federal government, especially in the entitlements programs, are actually foreign fraud rings. They're operating in other countries and actually exporting money to other countries. We should
Where's
stop
the
that.
proof?
Mr. Musk, you
And
said,
this is big numbers. Talking about $100 to $200 billion a year.
Stop lying.
Mr. Musk, you said on X
Yeah.
that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact check this, it apparently Gaza
Look at that white nationalist right there.
program was to protect them against HIV.
The leader, one of
So
the
can you
leaders of the
correct the
KKK.
statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas actually. It was sent
That's
to
Stephen
Mozambique,
Miller,
which makes
y'all.
sense why condoms was sent there.
Standing
And
there
how can
next to that
we make
man
sure
with the
that all the
camera.
statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all,
Let's rewind
some of
so
the
you
things
can
that I
hear
say
her
will be
question.
incorrect and should be
Let me
corrected.
rewind so
So-
y'all can hear her question because I was running my mouth.
Mozambique, which makes sense. Protect them against. After fact check this, it apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
And how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what
A
you say?
legitimate
Well, first of all,
question, finally.
some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So
What?
nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll.
Wait, did this man just say some of the things that he says will be incorrect? Wait, so you're not going to do your own fact checking before you speak. You're not going to do, you just going to go running off at the mouth. That's what you're going to do. And she's talking about this condoms that they say $50 million in condoms was sent over to Gaza. Come to find out, and he was insinuating that it was Gaza over in, with Hamas and over there with Iran. Okay. Come to find out that's not where it was sent. It was sent to Gaza over in Mozambique, Africa, where there is an HIV epidemic. Okay? HIV epidemic. And this is one of those things that USAID does. They help other countries around the world, and that builds allyship, right? That builds allyship. And so to help combat this HIV crisis over in Mozambique, am I saying it right? That's what they did. They agreed to send $50 million in worth of condoms over to this area to help combat the HIV epidemic. He led people to believe that these and it's not 50 million. I think it once all the fact checking was done, it was $8 million in condoms that was sent over. So he lied, he inflated the cost, and he lied. He led people to believe it was one area versus another area. And the reason why he did that is because he wants to create animosity and anger towards Hamas in support of their new friend, Bibi Netanyahu, so that they can validate cleaning out Gaza. This is how all of these dots are connected. And this mofo is standing in this Oval Office and saying to us that, yeah, he's going to say things that's not true. He's going to say things that's not true. Why, sir? Why? Why? There is no need to say things that are not true. The reason why you're saying things that are not true is because you have ulterior motives, number one. And number two, you don't have people around you. You didn't think beyond the wrecking ball. You didn't think beyond that because you're working under ulterior motives. You're not working in the best interest of the United States of America and its people. Let me rewind it.
That I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes.
He has yet to act quickly to correct
I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it. But if it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, why are we doing that?
I just explain
Can you talk
why
about
they're
how
doing it.
closely you're working with agency heads as you're directing these cuts? Do they have how much input do agency heads have when you're making these decisions?
Yeah, we work
My
closely
blood
with
pressure
agency
high
heads.
listening to this.
And
See, this is why we needed to watch this together.
there are sort of checks in place. So it's not just us just going in and doing things willy-nilly. It's in partnership with the agency heads, and I check frequently with the president to make sure that this is what the president wants to have happen. So we talk almost every day, and I double check things to make sure, is this something,
Who you lying?
Mr. President, you want us to do this?
You double check things. You wouldn't have put out no lies.
USAID has been one of your main targets. Are you concerned at all that some of the cuts or that shutting that agency altogether may lead to diseases or other bigger problems starting in other countries that then come to the United States? Yeah, so that's an interesting example. So that's something where we work closely with the State Department and Secretary Rubio. And we have, for example, turned on funding for Ebola prevention and for HIV prevention. Yes, correct. And we are moving fast, so we will make mistakes, but we'll also fix the mistakes very quickly. So,
do you see it as a worthy cause, USAID?
I think that there's some worthy things, but overall, if you say what was the bang for the buck, I would say it was not very good. And there was far too much of what USAID was doing was influencing elections in ways that I think were dubious and do not stand the light of day.
I mean, just as a follow-up to the Pentagon contracts, if you have received billions of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon, and the president's directing you to look into the Department of Defense, is that a conflict of interest?
Are going to do at the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because you'd have to look at the individual contract and say, first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX or someone who will be putting for the contract. And I'd like to say, if you see any contract where where it was awarded to SpaceX and it wasn't by far the best value for money for the taxpayer, let me know, because every one of them was.
The president said the other day that you might look at treasuries. Could you explain that a little bit? What kind of fraud and that question goes to both of you, what kind of fraud are you expecting to see or do you see right now in US treasuries?
Yeah, I think you mean the Treasury Department as opposed to Treasury bills, or
You also referenced treasuries on Air Force One the other night.
Go ahead.
well, as I mentioned earlier, really the first order of business is to make sure we're actually collecting. Sorry for this. Although my son might enjoy this, but he's sticking his fingers in my ears and stuff. So it's a bit hard to hear sometimes. Hey, stop that. No, the stuff we're doing with Treasury Department is so basic that you can't believe it doesn't exist already. So for example, like I mentioned, just making sure that when a payment goes out, it has to have a payment categorization code. It's like, what type of payment is this? You can't just leave the field blank. Currently, many payments, the field is left blank. And you have to describe what's the payment for, some basic rationalization. That also is left blank. So this is why, the Pentagon, when's the last time the Pentagon passed an audit? I mean, a decade ago, maybe? I don't know, ever, really? And we want to just, in order to actually pass audits, you have to have financial information that allows you to trace the payments. And once in a while, the Treasury has to pause payments.
This is ridiculous.
If it thinks the payment is going to a fraudulent organization. If a company or organization is on a do not pay list, we should not pay it. I'm sure you would agree. It's like, if it's quite hard to get on that payment, the do not pay list, it means that this is someone that is like dead people, terrorists.
Exactly, Gwyneth.
Known
You're
fraudsters.
focused on the fidgety kid and
that
not
kind of
really
thing.
what's
We
coming
should
out
not
of
pay
his
them.
mouth.
But currently we do, which is crazy. We should stop that.
Many,
heard
and by the
nothing
way,
you said.
hundreds,
Nothing you
thousands
said
of
made sense
transactions
to me.
like that. You know, we have a big team. And for the sake of the country, I hope that the person that's in charge and the other people that report to me that are in charge are allowed to do the right thing,
course we'll
namely
find a baby
make sure
too.
everything's honest, legitimate, and competent. But we're looking at just, when you look at USAID, that's one. We're going to look at the military. We're going to look at education. They're much bigger areas. But the USAID is really corrupt. I'll tell you, it's corrupt. It's incompetent, and it's really corrupt. And I can't imagine a judge saying, well, it may be corrupt, but you don't have the right. You got elected to look over the country and to, as we say, make America great again, but you don't have the right to go and look and see whether or not things are right that they're paying, or that things are honest that they're paying. And nobody can even believe this. Other people, law professors, they've been saying, how can you take that person's right away? You're supposed to be running the country, but we're not allowed to look at who they're paying it to and what they're paying. We have massive amounts of fraud that we caught. I think we probably caught way over a lot of billions of dollars already in 2 weeks?
Yes.
And it's going to go to numbers that you're not going to believe. And much, as I said, much is incompetence and much is dishonesty. We have to catch it. And the only way we're going to catch it is to look for it. And if a judge is going to say you're not allowed to look for it, that's pretty sad for our country. I don't understand how it could even work.
Buyout program, can you personally guarantee that?
Which one?
The buyout program, the offer to federal workers. Can you personally guarantee that the workers who opt in to resign now will be paid through
Well, they'll get
September?
their money, but they're getting a good deal. They're getting a big buyout. And what we're trying to do is reduce government. We have too many people. We have office space. It's occupied by 4%. Nobody's showing up to work because they were told not to. And then Biden gave them a 5-year pass, some of them, 48,000 of them, gave them a 5-year pass that for 5 years, you don't have to show up to work. And let me tell you, this is largely much of the.
That's a lie. That's a lie. I've been watching federal workers talk about this situation. That's a lie. The reason why Joe Biden extended that work from home for another 5 years is because they don't have enough office space to accommodate all of their federal employees. And being that they made this order for all of these people to now get back to the office, they've got people working in the building, and not everyone has a place to sit. You got people making up spaces in janitors' closets. They're sitting in lobbies trying to work. This man has no clue. The reason why, and I'm going to say it again, I said it before, they thought all of those people would just quit, making it easier for them to implement their project 2025. And those people were like, and if I don't understand how anybody would trust this man that you'll get paid through September. Where is that money coming from? He is not, he doesn't have control of the purse. Congress has control of the purse. So how is he guaranteeing that these people will get paid this money? What legislation was passed? Has the House brought forth legislation to offer this plan to federal employees? A lot of people agree to it. Where is the money coming from? How can you agree? You don't know how government works yet, and you're working for the federal government? Where is this money coming from? Where's the budget? The line item in the budget. He is a separate branch of government. There's 3 separate branches of government that makes up the federal government. There's the executive branch, which is him. There is Congress, which makes up the bills, the policies, the legislation. And there's the Supreme Court. The bills, the policies, the legislation is tied to the budget. He has no control over that. No control over that. So when he tells you if you take this offer and you'll be paid through September, and you didn't ask, where's the money coming from? Because I haven't, in all that I've seen with what's been going on in Congress, I ain't seen not one piece of legislation come through yet regarding this plan and where this money, how they were going to pay for this. That's Congress' job. Elon does not control the purse. He does not. He controls his own purse. That's why all of these things that they have tried to do, all of these executive orders to cut this, to cut that, that's why it's all tied up in court now. He doesn't have the power to just cut these programs or that program or eliminate this and eliminate that. He can say it. That doesn't make it so.
This stuff is because of Biden. It's his fault. Allowed this country, what he did on our border. What he did on our border is almost not as bad as what he did with all of these contracts that have come out.
Who's not following the rules?
It's a very sad day when we look at it. I can't even believe it. But many contracts just extend and they just keep extending, and there was nobody there to correct it. And that cannot be, I can't imagine that could be held up by the court. Any court that would say that the president or his representatives, like Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of State, whatever, doesn't have the right to go over their books and make sure everything's honest. I mean, how can you have a country? You can't have anything that way. You can't have a business that way. You can't have a country that way. Hey, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Fred.
coming back tonight. Mark Vogel will be at the White House tonight at about 10 o'clock. If you want to come over, you can say hello to him.
Did you guys get anything in return?
Not much. No, they were very nice. We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually. I hope that's the beginning of a relationship where we can end that war and millions of people can stop being killed. They've lost millions of people. They lost, in terms of soldiers, probably 1.5 million soldiers in a short period of time. We got to stop that war. And I'm interested primarily from the standpoint of death. We're losing all those soldiers. And they're not American soldiers, they're Ukrainian and Russian soldiers. But you're probably talking about 1.5 million. I think we got to bring that one to an end. Okay?
Aaron Gilchrist is live for us at the White House. Aaron, what was so interesting to watch?
That was a bunch of crazy. I'm exhausted. I don't know about y'all. I'm exhausted. But I had to hear this and watch it with my own 2 eyes and with my own 2 ears. And yeah. That was a bunch of crazy. And with all that they said that they found, they offered not one iota of proof, and not one of those reporters said, well, can you provide us with the proof? Where can we pick up the proof for what you're saying? Do you have spreadsheets? Where's the proof? Not one of them asked for proof. That one lady held Elon Musk to account regarding the damn condoms. Somebody said, trust me, bro. Meryl, BEW, she's got some statistics in here. Total casualties, 80,000 killed, 400,000 wounded. As of February 24, 2022, before September 2024, Wall Street Journal, citing confidential Ukrainian estimate, 57,500 plus killed and 250,000 wounded. So Mary is offering some statistics to prove that Donald Trump is lying. Y'all notice when he's ever talking about numbers, it's hundreds of millions this, it's billions and billions that. I can't stand him. Hey, Diamond Pearl. I can't stand him. I hate that man. I hate Elon Musk. And I need for you all to understand how Black people don't use the word hate often. Black people are raised with our parents telling us that hate is basically a nasty word. It is a strong word, and you really should not use it. That's how we are raised. That is a part of our upbringing. We are raised to look for the good